Hello and welcome, guys, to another edition of the Reinvention Workshop. It's always a great pleasure to be here and to discuss important topics and that are pertinent when it comes to personal development, as I would like to call it, personal development 2.0. That's the journey of one's self-understanding, because for me, the most important thing when it comes to personal development is about understanding the self, the role that the self has to play. Because if you can understand yourself, as the oldest advice in the book reads, "Man, know thyself." If you can understand yourself, then there isn't anything in the world that you cannot handle. And understanding yourself, I believe, begins with understanding how your mind works. It also begins with understanding how your brain works, because those are two important things that are critical when it comes to getting yourself to understand the very mechanisms, the root mechanisms that are operative in the way that you think, you make decisions, and you act and behave. And that is what we are very much interested at the Reinvention Workshop. The Reinvention Workshop is a program that is hosted by Evolve Project, which is an arm of NextEv, a company focused on personal development and human enhancement technologies. And today we are going to be discussing, we've had a series of other sessions in the past where we talked about self-optimization, we talked about physics of judgment, we've talked about time machine and many other things that revolve around thinking, decision-making, understanding how the human mind works, human body works, and how we make decisions. And today we're going to be talking about an interesting topic, one that is also dear to me, and that is about integrity. What does it mean? How does it play into the mechanism, into the physics of success? Because we all, as human beings, one thing that we are very much interested about, and the thing that we always go for, is success. And for many people, success means many things. But at least we understand from the very popular culture, the way we understand things, there are some markers that we can use to identify someone that we can ascribe to being successful. Some of those markers are financial buoyancy, if you have material wealth, if you have a stable relationship, if you have good health, and if you have a retinue of achievements in your under your belt. So those are some of the things, some of the markers that we use to identify success. So we're going to be using these markers as some kind of a yardstick in measuring the role that integrity has to play when it comes to achieving some of these things. Of course, there is a broader definition and understanding of what success means, because when we talk about success and you're talking about material success, it is also the case that even if you have material success, but if you're not fulfilled, if you don't find meaning in the work that you're doing in your life, you wouldn't be ascribed as success. The word success is still far-fetched from you. But today we're going to be looking at some of these markers and then looking at how it actually plays into the question of success, and at a very deep level, at a fundamental level, the role that integrity has to do when it comes to achieving success. So I'm joined today by Dr. Eileen and Joy Dimba. Dr. Eileen is my co-founder at NextEv, and Joy Dimba is also our moderator when it comes to the programs that we have at Reinvention Workshop. So I'll allow Dr. Eileen to introduce herself, and then before we can hand the mic over to Joy to introduce herself, and then we'll get started with the show. So over to you, Dr. Eileen.
Oh, hi everybody. Hi Ugo, hi Joy, thanks for being here. And hi all the audience who's in the wherever channels you come from. It's great to be here with you all, and this is a very special session. The title actually comes from Joy, and so she's going to dive into it a bit more about integrity. How does that relate to decision making, as well as how does decision making may lead to success. My experience with Coach Ugo is that we all have some fundamental questions, in our life that we need to resolve. And all of those questions, slowly unveil itself. But this is kind of like attending Ugo's session is like you're catching a fast train to your meaningful destiny, a fast train to your life goals, and a fast train to fulfill and to attain the fulfillment of your life. So, it's really great that you're here with us, because for myself, I've never found a better place to achieve all this, all in one spot. And usually, Coach Ugo is very selective about who he conveys this knowledge to. And so we're very fortunate to have him here to share with us his intelligence and wisdom. So thank you and welcome.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Dr. Eileen. So we're recording this in form of a podcast after it's going to be published on the YouTube and also on our podcast channels. So let's go ahead to Joy. Joy, I understand that your background, from what you said your background is a little bit noisy. So I don't know if it's okay now, if it's okay for you to speak. So if it's okay for you to speak, you can go ahead and unmute yourself and introduce yourself to the audience before we get started. If not, and then we'll proceed with our discussions today. So more of our discussion is gonna, our conversation today is gonna take more like a discussion, and generally everyone will contribute, and then we'll talk about the topic. So Joy, if you're able to speak, you can unmute yourself and go ahead. If not, we'll just go ahead. You can just chat us up and tell us to go ahead. Okay, I think Joy is in an environment Joy still can't speak. Yeah, so we'll just go ahead. So interesting enough, so the question now becomes what we're talking about today, which is integrity. What is integrity, and what role does it have to play when it comes to achieving success? So I think a good place to start is understanding what success is first and foremost. And if you're going to explore that question, so I'm going to try to run some kind of an analysis of what success is, and then I'll throw it up to you guys, and then to know what you guys think. So the way I define success, I think success is more like is a system that is used to measure outcome, a system that is used to measure outcome. And it's a system that is used to measure outcome that is built into two mechanisms. The first is a system that is used to measure outcome that is built into our biology. And it's a system that is used to measure outcome that is also built into our culture, the society. So why do I say that? From a biological standpoint, success is anything that you do that increases your chances of survival and reproducing your genes from a biological standpoint. So which means any action or any activity that you engage in, and then it's successful, your body would read it as successful if that action actually propagates, actually encourages the passing along of your genes to the next so that you can continue to perpetuate. So a very good example is if having sex would lead to you reproducing and passing on your genes to the next generation, and so your genes continue to perpetuate, your body will read it as successful. And how does it do that? It's going to do that by releasing chemicals, neurochemicals or systems, hormones in your body that will reward you whenever you engage in an action that is geared towards that reproduction. So in that sense, so a good example would be if I engage in if I see a beautiful woman and then my brain reads that, okay, that this lady, it's good for mating. So if I engaged with her in a sexual activity, then she could possibly help in giving me an offspring that can perpetuate my genes. So when you're driven towards that and then you engage in that, your body releases, after the sexual activity, your body releases oxytocin, and a flow of oxytocin and serotonin, energize, and dopamine, telling you that you have actually engaged in a successful activity that is going to lead to your reproduction. That also happens when it comes to, of course, there are areas of that when it comes to engaging in such activity that is contentious, because what if you engage in such activity and it doesn't turn out to be successful? What if the lady doesn't want it? Or well, even if the lady wants it, but you don't have the financial wherewithal to take care of the offspring? How do you do that? Well, that system also kicks in place when it comes to engaging in that activity, because if you're a young guy and you engage in a sexual activity and I know that that could potentially lead to having a child, well, your brain is going to tell you, even before you engage in it, it's going to send you signals even before you engage in that activity. What if this lady gets pregnant? How would you take care of the offspring? So it's not only that it's not only sufficient for you to get her pregnant, but you also have to take care of her and the child. So in that way, your brain will give you some kind of red alert signal telling you engaging in this activity will actually not be a successful activity, and then you'll be overcome with some kind of fear. And so that's why some people engage in abortion or something, trying to find a way to shrug that off, or to make sure that that activity does not go ahead, because it's not biologically speaking a successful activity. So your biology actually discourages you from engaging in that. There are a whole lot of other ways that your biology can also tell you not to engage in activity if it's not so. So if you're going into a deal or a negotiation or even any kind of activity, and then your mind tells you you're having some kind of doubt, that is your biological mechanism bringing up, releasing hormones and neurochemicals within your system, telling you that this is not an action that is actually going to be successful in the end. So the neurochemicals that your body releases, the majority of them dopamine, which is a very critical aspect, a critical one, serotonin, oxytocin, adrenaline. These are regulatory systems, neural regulators that are within your system that actually reward you and punish you when you engage in actions, so that for you to range those actions based on which one is successful and which isn't. Now, the second aspect, the second measure of success is the society, culture, like I said. So let's go back to the example of the guy that wants to engage in a sexual activity because the body feels that this is actually a good thing. So how would he also analyze an activity before going into that sexual activity to know if it's actually a successful activity? Well, he's not only going to be influenced by the way he feels, he's also going to be influenced by the way he is going to perceive his society or his family or friends are going to feel about such activity. So if you want to engage, let's say a lady let's say you want to marry a young lady, but your family does not support, your friends do not support, those around you does not support. The reason they're doing that is because they don't think it's beneficial to them and even you by engaging in such activity. Or if you get a lady pregnant without you having the financial capability, your family would discourage you from even getting into such relationships. So that is the society coming into check to determine what is success and what is not success. If you have the financial wherewithal and you get a lady pregnant, the family will say, okay, go ahead. You have the financial support. You have the financial means to take care of such relationship or such outcome. And so it becomes, they can label it as successful. But if you don't, then it becomes a problem because you're going to be a burden to the society, to those around you. So, and this goes on and spreads across into different areas of human life. So into the kind of job that you want to engage in, the what kind of job you want to take, the kind of business you want to take, even when you're moving, where you're going to live, the things that you actually recognize as success, the labels, that the things that you label as success, all of those things are determined by the way you feel about it, by how your biology supports it, which comes in as the way you feel about it, and how the society, the culture around you that you grow up in actually supports that. So if the culture does not support that, it's going to be difficult for you to really accept something as success. So this is, in a nutshell, how success, is defined, pretty much understood. Now, there are other things that come into place. Now, sometimes we can question whether our culture is actually the right, actually, everything that this culture defines as success is actually success or not. Now, those are the things that we can actually explore a little bit more further. But this, in a nutshell, it's how I understand success. So, but I'm curious of what you guys think about it. Hello, is someone here? Can you guys hear me? Hello? Hello?
We can hear you, sir. We can.
Yeah, so this is a conversation. It's not a presentation in the sense that I'm the one that is making it. It's a conversation that is being recorded, and we're going to publish it as a podcast. So everyone has to contribute. So I just finished the definition of success because it's the foundational thing. It's the yardstick that we're going to be using to measure integrity. So I'm looking for feedback. So what do you guys think? How do you understand what success is, Covenant?
Actually, I have a question to ask.
Okay, it's all right. Go ahead with your question.
All right. My question is, in the process, in the course of becoming successful, there are some hurdles in life people face. And we have this notion that hurdles are necessary. It comes to people's life, which is fine. It shapes us to become better. But having a constant hurdles often and often, even when one is putting up his effort, trying different strategy to make sure that he or she was able to overcome such hurdles, such challenges, and it kept coming often and often. Does it mean that because we have this notion to the level that most people will be like, they've told us that all those are normal things. Are we to see all those and challenges as normal thing that comes often and often in one's daily life? Is there that there's no remedy? I believe one of the notion I have is maybe any others that come our way after we're able to overcome them anyone coming over, another one is taking us to a higher level of understanding and, height in life. But these constant ones that happen, or I've seen people tell me, why would this challenge be coming all the time, all the time, all the time? And they are taking it as normal thing, normal thing, normal thing. Are we to take challenges, all those that comes often as normal thing, I actually want to ask this question. I don't know if I'm even making sense, but
Yeah, sure. You're making sense. And it's something that I also relate with. So when it comes to challenges that hit life, so life is a giant puzzle that we have to constantly solve. Every day you wake up in the morning, it's a new puzzle, a whole new puzzle that you have to try to unravel. Yeah. So, but the problem it's the problem when it comes to facing challenges and having to solve those challenges, like I used to tell you, the most important thing in life, it's the kind of mindset that you have. I think mindset is everything, because when it comes to you really facing life and being able to navigate the giant puzzle of life, it all comes down to the kind of mindsets that you have. Mindset, skills, and knowledge. Those are three important things that are very critical when it comes to solving the puzzle of life. The kind of mindsets that you have, the kind of knowledge that you have, and the kind of skills that you have. Those are very, very important. And but I'm going to focus on actually the three of them. They are not mutually exclusive. They are mutually inclusive, and in the sense that when you're dealing with a problem that is repetitive, it's coming over and over and over again, it's not giving you a break, it probably means that there is something that you've not learned about that problem. Most probably means that there is something that you've not understood about the problem. There's some kind of knowledge that you're lacking about that problem that makes it repetitive, because the whole essence of you engaging, like you said, life is a problem, giant puzzle solving. The whole essence for which life brings some kind of problem to you is so that you can learn from them, so that you can learn how to navigate them. So if a problem is resurfacing every time, always and always and always and again, then it means that there's some kind of knowledge that you're lacking that is actually causing that. So it could be that you're lacking some kind of knowledge that is preventing you from being able to decode that. So let's say a good example is that's a financial problem. You're having finance and then you're always getting broke. Anytime you make money, after some time you get broke. Every time you make money, after some time you get broke. So it probably means that you've not understood how to make money, because maybe you're relying on your physical strength for making money always and always. And if you look at people who actually don't have that kind of repetitive problem, reoccurring problem, the best way to solve some of those things is actually to start looking at people who don't have that kind of problem reoccurring every time in their life. So you can look at people who are financially free. How did they get financially free? So if you look at them, then you find out that unlike you, there are certain practices that they engage in, and there is a certain kind of system that they have in place that empowers them, that enables them not to witness that kind of problem over and over again. So if you're the kind of person that is always getting broke, then a couple of things are involved. Maybe you're not saving enough. Means that maybe you're not saving. Maybe you don't understand financial management, how to manage your money. Maybe you are only basing your source of income based on what you can do. That's your active income. Maybe you don't have enough passive income, stream of income that is coming in order to take care of some of those challenges. Maybe you don't understand even how money works. That's a knowledge problem. If you don't understand how money works and how to deal with money, how to interface with money, how to use money, then it's a knowledge deficit. And so you keep having that problem always coming up. So you want to check out to look at the kind of problem that you're witnessing. Ask yourself 3 questions every time you witness a problem that is always recurring. Is it a knowledge problem? Is it a mindset problem? Or is it a skill problem? Sometimes it's a mindset problem. When it's a mindset problem, it's usually when you view a particular situation of life or a particular phenomenon, a particular thing in life from an angle without looking at it, without trying to change the frame through which you look at it. And that is where the quote comes in handy that says, you can solve a problem with the same kind of mind that created it, with the same kind of mindset that created it. I think you've heard that kind of quote before. You can solve a problem with the same state of mind that created it. Another quote that also resonates with that is the quote that trying to solve a problem by using the same method and trying to use it to solve the same problem over and over again. It's simple the definition of stupidity. Most people allude that to Albert Einstein, but I'm not sure if that's his quote. But that's if you do the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result, that's the simple definition of stupidity. So that goes to show you that it is a problem of mindset. So if you are trying to solve a problem and the problem keeps recurring, it could be that you don't have the sufficient knowledge to solve that problem, or it could be that it's a mindset problem. So it means that you're looking at it, maybe the frame of mind that you're using to look at that problem is different. And so maybe you have to adopt a new frame of mind. So now the third thing that could be the fundamental problem that is making you to have that recurring problem. It could be a skill problem. So maybe you don't have the sufficient skill to solve that problem. So if you don't have the skill of making money, I go back to money again. For you to be able to make money, to be devoid of financial issues, of getting broke every time, you actually need knowledge to do that. You need the right mindset. You also need the right skill. So some problems will require a combination of these 3, the right mindset, the right knowledge, and the right skill for you to be able to solve that. So if you don't have the right skill, the right mindset, and the right knowledge, then you will not be able to solve those kind of problem. And usually the way you get the right mindset is by acquiring the right knowledge. If you get the knowledge, if you're always exposed to the right kind of knowledge, then over time, the knowledge begins to shape your mind in a way that you begin to have a new and better perspective. Because what knowledge actually does to the mind is it empowers the mind with new information in order to look at the world from a different perspective for each time you're looking at the same problem or trying to solve the same problem. So it empowers you with new information, and what it does is it clarifies the mind in solving problems. And then through knowledge, you also acquire skills. When you practice the knowledge that you have, if you acquire information and then you put in that information into practice, it is through practice that you acquire skills. So knowledge gives you the right mindset. It also gives you the right skill. Another thing that also influences mindset and also skill is the association and the environments that you find yourself in. So if you are in a community where people are always sharing this kind of knowledge, as we are putting it out here, then you begin to look at problems differently. So a good example is this question that you asked, Covenant, about why we keep having problems that are always recurring. Sometimes if you are coming from a different background, so let's say a religious background, especially, let's say our background in Nigeria, sometimes when you're witnessing a problem that is recurrent, they say it's a spiritual problem. They say it's some kind of a voodoo kind of thing that is accusing you, or the gods are against you, or the universe is against you. Now that's a perspective of looking at what problems are, what challenges are. And that creates a mindset. It's a mindset problem. So when you start looking at let's say you're having a financial problem, and you're not looking at it from the perspective that it could be that I don't have enough knowledge about how to manage money, or it could be that I don't have the skill of money management, or it could be that I don't even understand what money is and how to do that, and how to even make money. I don't have the skill to make money. You're not looking at it from that perspective, but rather you're looking at it from the perspective that someone is against you, someone is trying to take something from you, or the system is against you. Then that creates a mindset problem that will make the problem keep recurring, because you have not learned the lesson that you're supposed to learn from that. So I think in a nutshell, this is how I understand problems that are recurrent, that I keep coming back and forth always and always, and that we are unable to solve it. It's either a mindset problem, it's a knowledge problem, or it's a skill problem. So I don't know if I was able to answer your question.
Yeah, you did. You actually hit the nail, like you answered it. The part that got me well was where you stated that when a particular problem keep reoccurring often and often, it seems that there's a particular skills that person is yet to get. That one really got me. I really appreciate that part and every other ideas you've contributed. Thank you very much, sir, for that.
Yes, it's very important that we understand this, so that that also empowers you, so that when a problem is reoccurring, then you can know how to ask yourself the right questions. Because I think critical to solving problem, what is critical to solving any problem is also the quality of questions that you ask yourself, because the quality of the questions that you ask determine the quality of the replies that you get, the quality of outcome that you get. So if you are having a problem that is recurrent, it's also important that you train yourself in the art of asking the right questions. Sometimes you ask the wrong questions. So sometimes the problem is happening, and then you keep saying, why is the world against you? Now, that's a question to ask. That's one way to look at the question. The world is against me. Another way to look at it is, what skill am I lacking? What knowledge am I lacking? What is wrong with this system? So that's another way to ask the question, because it's the way you ask the question that frames your mind, that creates a mindset for you to attack that problem, that you're going to use in attacking that problem. So it's very important that you also learn how to ask the right questions, because if you're able to ask the right question, that begins the journey. That's the first stage in getting the right answers to that will profile the solutions that you need. I'm curious, Dr. Allen, if you have any input here. And so I don't think she's with us. I think she logged out or something. Yeah. So and another thing, and this also perfectly falls into the topic of today, which is about integrity and the role that it has to play when it comes to being successful. Now, because many people ask the question, what actually makes someone successful? And we say, like we mentioned, you have to have the right knowledge, you have to have the right skill, you have to have the right mindset. But there are some argue that sometimes you have these things. You have the knowledge, you have the skill. And another thing that people say, it's the right network. And we talk about the right alliance. So you have to be in the right environment and also be with the right people to be able to achieve success. So you have to have the right network. But sometimes you find that there are people who were seemingly in the same environment, had access to the same network, knew pretty much the same thing, because went through the same school, went through the same company, came out. But sometimes others become more successful than the others, or even one becomes successful and the other fails. So what is actually the problem there? So that brings in the question of the third element, and that is what the topic of today, which is about integrity. And I'm curious because when we say integrity, so the question now becomes, what is integrity? So Covenant, what do you think, or from your end, how do you understand integrity, and how does it come across to you when we're talking about success?
Okay. I'm just gonna be direct here. I won't talk much. To me, integrity is when somebody keeps to his or her words, like you don't miss words. Anything you said your services offer is what they offer. Anything they say they are not doing is what you are not doing. Like, you don't do otherwise. These are the things that people look out for. If you say you are selling this for so amount of money, and let it be so. You understand? So integrity is, to me, is when someone keeps to what he or she says is going to do, is going to offer, and given an excellent action. The summary of all those things, keeping to your words. I don't know if I'm actually making sense. As I don't want to talk much, I'm going to go direct, So
Yeah.
that is what I have to say in the nutshell, what integrity is to me.
All right. That's great. So it's pretty interesting. Yeah. So Dr. Aiden, I'm curious. So in essence, what you're saying is, which is very true. Integrity is about keeping your words and being true to your words. What you say. Let what you say and what you do be the same. But oftentimes that's usually not the case, because sometimes even you say some things and circumstances that are outside your control can make things not go this way that you promised. Let's say you can promise someone that you're going to deliver their goods, and then on the way to the delivery, and the delivery man has an accident. Would you say you don't have integrity?
That one is circumstances stripped in, actually.
Because becomes a question that if you're a man of your words, sometimes, okay, let's not even go that route and say some things that are outside let's even bring it to your own case. So you can promise someone that you're going to deliver something to them. Let's say you promise that, and then you become sick, or something happens, you suffer some kind of psychological breakdown, and you're unable to deliver on that. Doesn't mean that you don't have integrity. So those are also things that you also have to consider. So, and if it becomes the case that we cannot stand true to our words because there are circumstances that are outside of our control, then to what extent can we say that we can exercise our ability to have integrity, that's our ability to exercise the character of integrity? So, Dr. Allen, I'm curious about what you think, if you're here. Okay. Yeah. So in relation to what you said, covenants. I want us to look at it coming from another perspective, to also look at even the question of integrity. So when you talked about being able to be true to your words, that is integrity from the perspective of being ethical and being morally upright. You get a point. So when we say, if you say something, if you're honest, if you're sincere, that's integrity, because you have you stay true to your word. So when we talk about that, we are talking about someone who is sincere, someone who's morally upright. But we are looking at the role that integrity has to play when it comes to achieving success in one's life. And it's also the case, we know there are people that we know who are morally upright, like who say things and mean it, who are very sincere in their actions and in their dealings with others, but they're not that successful when it comes to those markers that we talked about in the beginning that we use to measure success. At least majority of them, they're not that successful, or they're averagely successful, or even people who still exercise these things, but their businesses fail. So there are cases where I've known people, I've had friends and people I've known that are very honest, did their business in an honest way, did everything, stay true to their cause, but still their businesses failed. Still they got divorced. Still things happened to them. Still their lives went into shambles. So can we say that those people did not have integrity? What could be the cause in that case? What could be the problem that they witnessed? Because we are saying that if you're going to be successful, then you need to fulfill the first things that we talked about. Those things we talked about knowledge, we talked about having the right network or the right alliance of people. And then you also need to have integrity. So if integrity is only about those things that we talked about, which is being morally upright or being able to stay true to your words or being ethical, then what of the cases of people who had these characters and these qualities and still did not turn out, and to become successful as they would hoped to be? So the question now becomes, either integrity is not all that there is, all that is required to be successful, or that definition of integrity is not complete. And I'll go with the latter, which is that the definition about integrity being only moral uprightness, about integrity being only sincerity or moral fortitude. And I will say that that is not the case. Integrity includes sincerity. It includes intellectual, it includes moral uprightness, it includes sincerity. But that is not all there is to integrity. So if you want to understand that, you have to go back to the root word of the word integrity. You have to go back to define the term integrity, go back to the origins of the word integrity. And I even look at the dictionary, try to understand the full meaning of integrity. Because I like to tell you guys, anything that you can define, you can modify. Anything you cannot define overwhelms you. Definition is the first and the most important skill that I think any person needs to acquire in order for them to be able to navigate the world. And if you go back and try to understand the meaning of the, integrity, you find out that there are different meanings. One aspect of integrity, the one you talked about, covenant, it's about moral uprightness, it's about ethical propriety. That's one aspect of integrity. Another definition of integrity means something that is whole, something that is undivided, something that is something that is integral, something that is well integrated. And that is very critical, because if we understand the role that plays and the meaning, what it means in our lives, then you begin to understand what integrity actually means. So for something to have integrity, for something to be integral, it means that that thing has to be complete in its nature. Integrity comes from the Latin word integer, which means whole and complete. So when we say that that you have something has integrity, it means that that thing is complete in its nature. It means that that thing is sufficient in its nature. And if you look at it, you'll find out that if you go through life is going to throw you a lot of balls. That is going to throw you a lot of challenges. You know, like you talked about in the beginning, covenant. Why is it that people go through life and they witness problems, and sometimes some of those problems are recurrent, or even if they are not recurrent, people witness a lot of challenges every time. And that goes back to the question of integrity. We can say that people who go through that and are unable to withstand the challenges that come with life, they don't have integrity, which means they are not complete. They are not whole in their nature. And that is why, because every time life will throw challenges at you, and that as life is throwing challenges at you, you need to have a complete nature. You need to have a well-integrated nature to be able to form a shield that will not create a hole for those challenges to penetrate. So if there is a shield, a leakage, if there's a leakage within your system, it means that there is a hole, and that is where the waters of life challenges it is through those points that the waters of life challenges will sink into your boat and then wreak havoc in your life. And that means that you don't have integrity. So in that sense, integrity becomes your ability to withstand the demands of life, your ability to meet the demands of reality. That is what integrity means. Ability to meet the demands of reality. So because reality are going to throw challenges at you, but if you have the ability to create a front that is complete and whole in its nature, and you are able to withstand those challenges, then you have integrity. So I know that another question would have, okay, before I talk about the question, so what do you guys understand so far from what we have said so far? I'm curious to get your thoughts on this.
Okay. Sincerely, this last statement to define as about integrity, ability to meet the demands of reality. Ability to meet the demands of reality. Yeah, it really hits the nail. Like, it's really, I have to start thinking of that statement right now. Ability to meet the demands of reality. And I noticed that it actually correlates. Yes, because if I could be able to meet the demand of maybe my clients in my business, you know, at this particular point in time it needs it, then I've proven myself beyond that. Because I could remember something happened. I had a story from a colleague of mine who told me that he was trying to play gentle. Like you said, that some persons have the skill, have everything, but yet nothing is happening. So this person actually has the skill, he has everything, as in he has the network and all that. But when he was inside the flight he boarded, he was trying to play very gentle, as you know, that kind of gentleness. So in his gentle way, trying to follow the due protocol, someone who was not following the due protocol, you know, made good use of the opportunity that he would have that he would have gotten. Up to date, my colleagues still feel pain. He felt pain because he was like, what has it done to life that he was trying to play the due protocol process, yet he couldn't get what but somebody that is not even skilled at all was able to maximize the opportunity at that moment. So it was now so this definition
Yes.
I have to be like, what is happening? So I actually agree with this
Yes.
definition because
I love that example, the analogy you used that about your friend being able. So the question now becomes because ordinarily we would say that the guy who did not follow the rule doesn't have integrity. Because if you are defining integrity from the perspective of someone who is morally, righteous, someone who is plays the game by the rules, by the book, that the person has integrity. But actually, the person has lost out in what he was supposed to achieve because he wasn't able to meet the demands of reality at that time. And there are a lot of things that come into the question, because when you say integrity is the ability to meet the demands of reality, it's a statement that is fully loaded. It's laden with a lot of principles and a lot of implications. Because if you're going to meet the demands of reality, you have to first of all understand how reality works in the first place. You have to understand what reality is. You have to understand the makeup of reality, and you have to understand how to navigate your way around reality. And that's why I ask, right, when I tell people, I say, you see, I'm going to take up the example that you gave about the guy that's missed the opportunity at the airport. Now the question becomes, should we obey the rules or not? Should he obey the rules or not? Is it appropriate for him to have obeyed the rules or not? And it becomes debatable. So, but if you go with the question, with the argument that integrity is about meeting the demands of reality. So the question now becomes, what is the demand of reality at that time? And like I said in the beginning, if you're gonna meet with the demands of reality, you have to understand what reality is. And this goes to show that, like I used to tell people, when it comes to obeying laws or obeying rules, you have to understand whatever situation you find yourself, and then you're at a crossroads, or you have a dilemma of which law to obey and which rules to obey. There's a difference between ethics and morals. We'll talk about moral rules. Moral rules are rules that are set up by human society, by humans, based on their understanding of how the world works at that time. So a good example is a country's constitution is a moral rule, but it's not an ethical rule. What is ethics? Ethics are laws of nature, as we understand them. Those are laws of nature. And yes, it is true that most moral rules that we have, so a moral rule could be a religious rule, it could be a country's national law in form of constitution, it could be the laws that govern a society, an organization, it could be norms, it could be etiquette, it could be anything, all of these rules that relate. So you look at how reality is organized. Reality is organized in such a way that there are the fundamental natural laws that underscore everything. And then on top of that, we build our own moral rules on top of them. So we look at the laws of nature, and we try to delineate, we try to explore, we try to extrapolate from those natural laws to create our own rules. So when we say freedom of speech, when we say freedom of worship, all of those things, we looked at nature's laws and then we try to extrapolate that. But remember what I said, that moral rules are simply the rules that we human beings set up based on our current understanding of how the world works. So current understanding of the laws of nature. And our laws and our understanding of the laws of nature are incremental. It keeps evolving with time. So that is why sometimes we can make laws that are not in sync with the laws of nature. And at that time, if you obey those moral rules, you are not in sync with the laws of nature. And at that time, you're not meeting with the demands of reality. So you cannot actually say that you have integrity. So I'm curious to get the comments. We have here Tile. I don't know if I got your name correctly. So Tile, if you can hear us, what you think about what we are discussing so far, integrity with relation to how it helps us to achieve success. So Tile, if you can hear us, please unmute yourself and then speak. I think you unmuted yourself and then you went back. So maybe you can go ahead. Unmute yourself and then you go ahead. Can you speak?
So sorry, I just came in now, so I'm trying to listen to what you were talking about.
Okay. All right. So we are discussing about the role that integrity has to play when it comes to achieving success in life. And then so far we try to define what success is, how we understand success, and then the role, and then we try to break down the concept of integrity and the role that it has to play and how it actually fits into the question of success. So we're actually treating, and we're using a definition here, which is that integrity is not just, because when we talk about integrity, a lot of people think that integrity is just about being morally upright or being righteous or being able to follow the rules that are written down in the books or being sincere and honest, just that. But you also understand that there are people who are, even though they are sincere, they are upright, they follow the rules, they still are not successful, or they even, like in the example that Covenant gave, they still miss out on the opportunities that were supposed to allow them to achieve success because of their keeping the rules. So that now becomes a problem. Do they actually have integrity? And we said that integrity is the ability to meet the demands of reality. And for you to be able to meet the demands of reality means that you have to understand how the world works. You have to understand reality. You have to be able to differentiate the difference between moral rules and ethical rules. So ethical rules are derived from the laws of nature, whereas moral rules are derived from people's understanding of how the world works at that time that they do. So that is why constitutions are reviewed. That's why religious norms are reviewed. That is why society evolves, culture evolves, traditions evolves, they change. And as they change, the rules that guide them also evolve, because those moral rules, they are based on our changing understanding, our evolving understanding of how the world works. So what we'll talk about, so I want to go a little bit further to try to break down that definition that integrity is your ability to meet the demands of reality. And it's important for us to break it down. And I'm going to break it down that for you to meet the demands of reality, you have to meet the demands of reality, especially when it comes to your interaction in the world with people, especially when it has to do with your business. So we're trying to give it some closure now, some perspective with your business. If you're going to meet the demands of reality, you have to be able to meet the demands of reality at least in 6 ways. And the first one is your ability to connect authentically with others, ability to connect authentically with others, which leads to trust. So if you are the kind of person that you have the right connections, you have the right knowledge, you the right environment, you have access to the resources, but you fail to authentically connect with others, you won't be able to create trust. And you know that in the world of business and in human relationship, trust is everything. Trust is the currency that actually drives the economy. If people don't have trust in their national currency, the value of that currency will be devalued. It will go down. The reason why the currency is successful, the reason why the dollar is the most successful currency in the world, is the most valuable currency in the world, is the is the main currency in the world today. It's because of the trust that people have on the dollar. And there are a lot of things that come into place in order to create that trust. When it comes to the creativity and productivity of the nation, when it comes to their political power, when it comes to, there are a lot of things that come into place in order to create that. But I'm trying to highlight the point that trust is a crucial factor when it comes to building formidable and meaningful relationships with others. And if you're going to meet with the demands of reality, you want to learn how to authentically connect with others on a level that you're able to create trust. Because if you create trust with people, then they can become your friends. And if they are your friends, they will do business with you. If you have trust in your relationship with your partner, then the relationship will blossom and be successful. There will be no need for divorce. If you have trust in your business interactions with the people you do business with, then that business will blossom and then it will become profitable and successful. If the people of a country have trust in their national values, and if they trust the country in the values of the country and they believe in their country, they will do anything for their country. So trust is critical. It's critical, and it underscores everything that we do. And most times, what prevents us, especially, let's narrow it down to human to human relationship. What prevents us from being unable to establish connection, trust with people, is our inability to establish connection. And for you to establish connection with people, you must learn how to enter into their worldview. You must learn how to enter into their world, to see things from their perspectives. And that's where we talk about empathy. It's a very critical skill when it comes to establishing trust. So you want to learn how to do that. So I don't know what you guys think about that. How has that played out in your career, in your life, and how do you think it's actually placing into the question of having integrity and establishing meaningful relationship with others, and that's achieve success? So maybe I'm gonna go with you, Covenant, because it seems you are the one that is catching up with me so far.
Please, Ugo, can you actually just recap a bit? I didn't get the last part you asked me to do right now, to talk about, like, to get my reaction. I didn't get it very well.
Yeah, I was talking about trust, the role that trust has to play when it comes to being able to meet with the demands of reality. Because we talked about, like I said, there are 6 parts when it comes to being able to meet with the demands of reality. And the first I talked about is the ability to connect authentically with others, which leads to establishing trust. And I said that the trust is very critical when it comes to building any form of relationship in the world, because if you're going to interact with people at any level, what is holding our societies together, what holds a society together, a community, is the trust. And that trust is established within the culture, the norms, the traditions, what the people hold there. That is what establishes the trust. If you go to a foreign country and you meet someone from your country, you're more likely to trust that person because you share a common heritage, you share a common value system, you're likely to share a common value system. I'm not saying there are obviously some cases where people from your country can be distrustful, but at least you are able to relate with that person because there is a memory of trust that you have with that person. So trust is critical. As it is an economic tool, it's an emotional tool. It's something that is important when it comes to building successful relationship, whether it be a romantic relationship, whether it be any kind of relationship. So your ability to connect authentically to others on the level of, and be able to establish trust, that is the first stage when it comes to the first ingredient, when it comes to establishing the character that make up integrity. So I'm curious to know what you think about it.
Okay. Okay, now I get. Okay. Trust and integrity go, I think they go hand in hand. Like trust, integrity brings trust. I don't know if I'm actually making sense. Yes, when someone when somebody has this integrity, it's automatically makes the person trustworthy, like makes him or her trustworthy to whatever he's doing. So trust is very, very hard these days. It's very hard to get. But
Yeah.
I
People
it's
always say that.
very hard to get these days because someone can trust today and tomorrow it's just like someone is being trusted today and tomorrow situations or circumstances make him or her, changes. That still bring me back to that definition of integrity you said, like meeting
Ability
the
to,
demands of reality. You get.
yes.
So this trust issue
Yeah,
of a thing is not easy, but
yeah,
then
yeah. Yeah, it's important because even when you talk about ability to meet the demands of reality, it means that for you to do that, you have to build a frame of mind and you have to build a kind of character that allows you to be able to adapt to situations. So when we talk about ability to meet the demands of reality, you have to build some kind of a frame of mind, a kind of character that allows you to be able to adapt to situations. And one of them is your ability to authentically connect with others. That's the first thing talked about, ability to authentically connect with others. If you can authentically connect with others, then you'll be able to establish trust. So it's a character. So it's so we're talking about ingredients of a character that actually make up integrity, the things that make up integrity. So being able to meet the demands of reality, it's your ability is for you to develop a form of a character that allows you to go through life and be able to meet the demands of reality. And when I defined integrity as being complete, being whole, undivided, sometimes people say, it doesn't mean that you have to know how to do everything. Doesn't mean that you have to know you have to be a jack of all trade. But that's not necessarily what it means. Because when we're talking about integrity, we're talking about character. What makes up integrity is character. But it's a kind of character that allows you, even though you're not a jack of all trades, you don't know everything, but the one that you know, you have the character to be able to do it very well. You're able to meet the demands of reality when it comes to doing that thing, that one that you know. So if you're a real estate consultant, you don't know everything about real estate, but the ones that you are good at, you have to be able to play on all those fields, be able to meet all the 6 things that I'm going to mention today, be able to meet on all those levels, meet the demands of reality on all those levels for you to be able to meet the challenges of life. And we can say that you have integrity in that aspect. So the second, we've talked about your ability to connect authentically with others. The second we're going to talk about is your ability to be oriented toward the truth, which leads to you being able to finding and operating in reality. Your ability to be oriented towards the truth. And this is very, very crucial, very, very important. And the singular thing that I use to define that is curiosity. Holy curiosity, that's what I call it. A holy form of curiosity. And the reason I say that is because it's difficult for us to be oriented towards the truth, for you to be always oriented towards the truth. And the reason is because of bias. And bias is a natural, if you attended our last session where I talked about judgment, you understand that bias is a natural aspect of human mind. It's a consequence of the way the human mind works. the human brain functions, to how our brain tries to summarize information because of the limited access to resources and the limited access to processing capability. So because of these things, our brains, our minds always fall into the mistake of becoming biased when it comes to making judgments. So if you are going to be oriented towards the truth always, then you have to have some kind of a holy curiosity. And what I mean by holy curiosity, we all are curious beings. We are always curious every time. But when we talk about holy curiosity, we are talking about a form of curiosity that is oriented towards the truth for the sake of truth on its own, in and of its own sake. You're oriented towards the truth for the sake of truth on its own, not for any other thing. And it's very difficult. It's a very difficult thing to do. The reason is because of our egos. What we have, ego. Ego is a natural buildup within the human system that disposes us towards self-preservation. So because nature, our nature predisposes us to preserve ourselves. In order to do that effectively, the human system, the human mind develops ego. So ego is the system within us that inclines us towards self-preservation. And for you to preserve yourself, sometimes it's difficult for you to accept the truth. It's very difficult for you to accept the truth sometimes. And that is sometimes someone is telling you that the path you're following is going to lead to doom. But because you are biased, because of something else that you are looking for, because you think that the way that you're going about it, which seems to gratify your immediate needs, then you become biased. And because of that, you find it difficult to look for the truth in and of itself. So it's a very difficult thing. One will say ability to be disposed towards the truth, to go for the truth always and every time and always is a very difficult thing to do. And it can get us into trouble. I don't know if you have any questions on that.
I don't actually have questions on that. You've done justice to most of the things that I need to be clarified about. And it's a good one. Thank you.
Yeah, so before we continue, I think let me get your feedback from everyone in the room. I think we've taken. Okay. Yes, go ahead. Sarah. Please go ahead.
No, I said I don't have a question.
Okay, all right. I thought you said you had a question. Yeah, so I'd like to get a feedback from you guys. So this session is supposed to end, I think, right about now, because we started a little bit late after. I think it was 25 minutes after 8. That's when we started. But it's supposed to end by now. So I don't know. Should we go ahead? Maybe we'll continue next week to complete the other the other 4 ingredients that we're supposed to talk about. So do you think we should call it a wrap here and then continue the next session, or should we just finish up? I don't want to bore you guys.
All right, I don't know. Maybe we should call it a wrap then. We can end now. Maybe next week or something.
Okay.
Because I think
right.
I don't know. Convenient. What about you?
Yes, Company says you should call it a wrap.
Like a lot has been dished out this evening, so we need to actually go and assimilate this one very well. It's really, really powerful. Thank you so much, Ugo.